All right, well, just when many Democratic voters were hoping the 2020 presidential field was starting to narrow, another candidate may be jumping in. Billionaire businessman and former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg preparing for a potential 2020 run. Spokesman tells CNN that Bloomberg will file necessary paperwork to get on the Democratic primary ballot in Alabama. That's despite saying earlier this year, you might remember, that a presidential run was off the table.
Look at the layout of who's going to vote and where the country is. I would be very unlikely to get elected, but in the private sector, I can make a difference.
There you go. Well, apparently Bloomberg is filing now to meet the state's early deadline, but he still hasn't made a final decision on actually entering the race. A person familiar with Bloomberg says he's reconsidering the run because of his longtime adversary, President Trump.
I'm a New Yorker, and I know a con when I see one.
CNN has learned that Bloomberg is concerned that the Democrats in the race right now can't defeat the president. Well, the president responded today, no surprise, on the lawn of the White House.
He's not going to do well, but I think he's going to hurt Biden, actually. But he doesn't have the magic to do well. Little Michael will fail.
So progressive Democratic candidates speaking out against the potential new rival, who Forbes says is worth about $52 billion. Senator Sanders' campaign manager said, quote, more billionaires seeking more political power surely isn't the change America needs. Well, it's Friday, so let's go over what happened this week when it comes to impeachment proceedings, because, well, there was a lot. First, a stunning reversal from U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, admitting there was a quid pro quo between President Trump and Ukraine over military aid. He issued a 3-page revision to the testimony he gave last month. House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff announced Wednesday that public impeachment hearings will begin next week as Democrats move into the next phase of their inquiry.
We will begin our open hearings in the impeachment inquiry next week. We will be beginning with the testimony of Ambassador Taylor and Ambassador Kent on Wednesday. And we will have Ambassador Yovanovitch testify on Friday. These will be the first of the open hearings.
Open hearings marks the first time Americans will hear directly from officials at the center of the allegations of a quid pro quo. Impeachment investigators have already heard from more than a dozen witnesses. That was behind closed doors, though, including the 3 who will appear next week. Well, next, top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, Bill Taylor's testimony became public, and his testimony said it was his clear understanding that American financial assistance to Kiev wouldn't come unless the country's president said publicly he would investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Well, Taylor said he came to that conclusion after conversations with other senior U.S. officials, including U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, who we were talking about. Well, then we heard testimony from one of Mike Pence's top national security aides. Sources say Jennifer Williams listened in on the Trump-Ukraine call that is really at the center of all this and was concerned by it. She testified that she viewed the call as unusual because it was political in nature, didn't have the normal tone of a diplomatic call, according to her. And despite this, the president says today he is not worried about the testimonies or the hearings.
They shouldn't be having public hearings. This is a hoax. This is just like the Russian witch hunt. This is just a continuation.
All right, well, now you are caught up just in time for everything to change again.